Today, we're going to talk about the automation of tracking engineering metrics. Basically, engineering metrics are essential for tracking your team's progress and productivity and identifying areas of improvement. Managers or engineering leaders are definitely interested in tracking metrics, but manually tracking these metrics can be time-consuming and error-prone. So in this article, we'll show you an example of automating the tracking of engineering metrics. Some examples of standard engineering metrics include number of bugs, lead time to close those bugs or lead time for new features, code coverage, build or test success rate, deployment frequency, number of incidents, customer incidents or things being down, for example, and then mean time to recovery from those incidents, delivered story points, right? How much work is your team able to deliver every sprint, and many other metrics. And most of the ones I mentioned could be automated in terms of automating the gathering of them. And of course, these metrics can be sliced and diced. Further, metrics could be for the whole org, just for the team. Bugs, tracking of bugs, for example, could be sliced and diced by severity, etc., right? So there's plenty of opportunity to gather lots of data. So in our example, we're going to show you how we automate gathering one specific metric. So we'll gather the number of GitHub open bugs for a specific team. We will update the numbers in a Google Sheet. We will automate all this with GitHub Actions, so this automatically happens at a regular interval, and then we'll show you how to display the data in Google Docs. So all of these tools we're gonna talk about are freely available, so we don't need to go to a fancy third-party metrics gathering service. We don't need to set that up. So this is just something you can get started right away, whether you're a manager, an engineering leader, or just a developer who's wants to track some things very specific. All right, let's get started. So first, gathering the number of open bugs. So GitHub API is pretty well documented. And there's also many quality client libraries in the API. So we will use the Go GitHub Client API. So we will just go through step by step. How are we going to do this? All right. So we have an empty directory here called metrics demo. So we will go mod init. All right. Forgot my module name, go mod init, and we could call it metrics demo. If you know it's going to be on GitHub, you should do it like that. But this is just going to be a temporary example. I'll link to the full example at the bottom of the video. But for this example, let's do that. So we create a go mod file. So for our client library, we need to import it. So let's go ahead and do this like in the documentation. Import it. Yeah, import it in the code, but go get right here. So go get, download it. All right. Now we're ready to start coding. So main.go file. Our package, which is right here, metrics demo, I think. Package main, yes, this is a main file. Import, we'll add that later. So we're gonna get some issues. So let's do a function get GitHub issues. We're gonna pass a context to it. Context. Yep. It's gonna return some GitHub issues and an error. Okay, this is nice, automated. That's not very nice. All right, so first we need to get our token, right? So personal access token, you can get it on GitHub it's also where we're going to be using an open source repository. So having a token is actually fully optional. GitHub token, and we're going to get it from the environment. Get env, gonna call it GitHub token. And later on, when we show how we run this in GitHub Actions, GitHub token is automatically available for you. So we don't need to do anything special to get this GitHub token when we do GitHub Actions later. And then we'll do a client, GitHub, new client, with token, yep. With auth token. Sorry, Copilot, you're wrong on this one. Okay, so we got our client. Now we're gonna get the issues. We're gonna need to somewhere to store all the issues. So we'll say all issues. We're gonna, this is creates a nil slice, and then options. Yes, of course, because we want to filter the issues by labels. Labels, issue list by repo option, that looks good. State, we only want open issues, and then we want specific labels. So labels, that's a good guess. Bug, yes, we want bugs. And this team has its own label. It's a MDM, mobile device management team, and the bugs that are being worked on or about to be worked on have this additional release label. So this is going to get all of those open bugs from that team. And now this could be a lot. So we need to handle pagination. So we need to keep hitting the API to get all the data. So we're going to have a for loop and issues, response, error. I'm just going to type it out. I'm not sure if this is all correct. So client, issues list by repo. Okay, list by repo. We need to change the repo. So the organization is FleetVM. The repo is Fleet. And then we're going to do error checking here. We're going to return the error. And yes, we're going to append all the issues. And then the response part is where we check for the next page. So if response next page is 0, that means we're done. So we break. If it's not, we keep going. We add this page to our options. So we fetch the next page and keep going. Okay. And then we return this issue. So, so this code is pretty straightforward. Okay. And let's create our main. So we're just going to call this. Okay, that's good. That's good. We're not going to print all issues. We're just going to print the number of issues. So we're going to do format printf. I like to use printf. Okay. All right. So before we run this, we need our GitHub token. And I'm going to go ahead and add this to our environment. So export GitHub token. So I went ahead and generated a token already. Let me go find it. So it looks like something like this. So this token is in the environment. So let's go ahead and run this. Go run main.go. Bad credentials. Labels look fine. Okay. Okay. I had some word wrapping here, so I didn't actually get the right token in here. Go back. Come on. Oh, let's just do it again. Export GitHub token equals, and now the actual GitHub token. It's actually longer. It's like this long. All right, try again. Found 62 issues. All right, so there we go. We got the issues from GitHub. So the next thing we're gonna do is put these issues into a Google Sheets spreadsheet. And to update the Google spreadsheet, we're gonna use the Google Sheets API using the Google's Go client libraries. So in a previous video / article, we gave the instructions for getting the Google Sheets API key, sharing the spreadsheet with a service account, and then editing. So we're going to use that code, that article, as the base for the next step. So let's go ahead and go to that article. I've already went through this process, so I do have a service account and the credentials for that service account. Let's go ahead and pull these things into our project. Pull in the auth and the client library. And then what we're actually going to do is this code, it has hard-coded credentials. We're actually going to pull it from the environment as well, because that is how it's going to happen when we go to GitHub Actions. So let's go ahead and copy all this code. And we're going to modify it. We're going to create a separate function. So we got go, we got get GitHub issues, and then we're going to have another function that we're going to call update spreadsheet or something like that. Let me think of a better name. Yeah, update spreadsheet is good. So update spreadsheet, and we're just gonna have the value, right? The number of issues we're gonna put in our spreadsheet. We could use the same context as before. Let's do that. I think that's the proper way to do it. Context. Okay. We're gonna get this. We're gonna read this in from environmental variable, but first we need the spreadsheet ID. So spreadsheet ID, and we're gonna get that from the environment variable os get env. Spreadsheet ID looks good, and if it's not there, we are gonna basically return an error. This returns error. I'm gonna return format error. Looks good. And then service account, where we could have it work with both a file and environmental variable. So actually, let's do that. So let's say we get it from a file. It will work for local testing, but for GitHub Actions, we're going to use an environmental variable. So let's add that case. So if the error is it doesn't exist because there is no file, then file not found, try to read env var. All right, so we're going to do the same thing as we did up here with spreadsheet ID. So service account key, Google service account key. This looks good. Yes, this is a byte slice. And then otherwise we'll return an error. Case error not equals nil, colon, extra bracket. This is fine. Okay, error F. FMT here, okay. All right, so we got the spreadsheet ID, we got the account key. Then we do the JWT authentication, just like we did previously. We create the client, new service. We pick the range A2, B2. This is still fine. We get the values. Getting the values is optional. In this case, we just want to update the spreadsheet. So but for debug, print line, let's say previous data found. We'll just print the previous data. This is fine. And then we're gonna write the new data. One thing I like to do is use a time zone, a proper time zone. So when we look at the Google spreadsheet, we see the proper time zone. However, Google spreadsheet doesn't actually support time zones, which seems like an issue. So it's up to you. I think maybe it's easier to do this without a time zone, but I'm gonna do a time zone here. So I'm gonna define my time zone. I'm actually gonna do America, Chicago. And then the values to write, what I'm gonna actually write to the spreadsheet. Time, now in location format. So there are some standard formats. Let me see if we can see this format layout. Yeah, like this, like these formats, right? So we want something nice to read. So I want this, I want the datetime format, but with a time zone. Let's go back to our code. I want this format, but I want to add a time zone. So there we go, time zone. And then value, that's just the number of issues. So this is what we're gonna write. But before we write that data, we need to create a new row, insert a new row. So we're gonna do a batch update. Spreadsheets. Oops, keep pressing tab. .batch update. Spreadsheet ID, request, that looks good. A request. And this request is going to be of type insert dimension. Insert dimension request over a range. This is our default sheet. It's called sheet 1 by default. We're going to add a row, yes. Yes, index 1 to 2. So it's going to insert a second row in that spreadsheet. And then we're going to add this, inherit from before, false. This is okay, you can read about this option here. And then we're missing some commas here, comma, comma, comma. What is going on? Okay, batch update, and then we actually want to do it. All right, check error checking. Return FMT error F. Unable to insert row, yes. The squiggly line likes it being lowercase. Okay, we inserted the row. Now we actually want to write the data. So Spreadsheets, values, update, spreadsheet ID, read range, value range. This looks good. And we have the values. And then here we have to add this value input option. We're gonna do user entered. I just realized I copied the wrong code. This code was already written in my previous example. It was actually all down here. A little duplication. All right, if error not equals null, return format error, unable to write data sheet. Okay, return nil. All right, so let's integrate all this. So this function here, so we got the number of issues, then we want to write them. So update spreadsheet. This looks good. It returns an error. If error not equals nil, we panic. That's fine. Or do we panic? I mean, panic is fine. We can also do log fatal f. All right, so before we run this, we need to set our environmental variable spreadsheet ID and Google Service Account key. Spreadsheet ID, I do have a spreadsheet which we're gonna use. I already set this up. I already shared it with my service account. Okay, and let's see, we need the ID, it's up here. There's a dash there, okay. Let's do export spreadsheet ID equals that. And then we need our Google Service Account key. I also have it. I'm going to copy it here. So copy, I have it downloads. I call it like metrics demo or something. There we go. Copy it here, credentials.json. I'm going to copy it here, but I'm actually going to use an environmental variable. So environmental variable. So we're going to export this name equals, and then we're going to get it from the file. So cat credentials.json. Let's see if this works. Let's echo this. All right. Let's see if this works. We got everything set, so we're ready to run this. So go run main. We're missing some stuff. So let's do go mod tidy. Let's see if that fixed it. Go run main.go. Found 62 issues, no previous data found, but let's go back to our spreadsheet and see what happened. There we go. We see our data up here. All right, so we got the issues. We updated the spreadsheet. Now we want to automate this. So we're going to be using GitHub Actions to automate this. Let's go back into our projects. Let's create a directory called GitHub. Subdirectory called workflows. And then here we're going to create a workflow called update spreadsheet.yaml. And then let's go ahead and give it a name. Update spreadsheet with latest metrics. What I like to do is I like the name, the first part of the name, to match the file name up here. That makes it easier to correlate the file name with the name of the workflow. And then we will want to be able to work it, to run it manually. So we can do workflow dispatch for manual running, or we can schedule it. And you can run it every 24 hours. But in this case, I'll give an example of running it every 12 hours. And I believe you can do this multiple times, so you can have multiple schedules as well. Let's just go ahead and run it every 12 hours. So this is going to be at 0 and at 12 UTC. Next part is the environment. You can set it at the top level, or you can set it later in the actual specific job. So it already knows my code, so it's giving me some ideas here. Spreadsheet ID. Okay, so let's go through these. So the one there's some extra junk here we don't need. What do we call it? We call it Spreadsheet ID. We got GitHub token, I'll get to that. Spreadsheet ID, and the other one is Google Service Account Key. Google Service Account Key. This is going to come from our secrets, which I will set shortly. And then the thing that's going to be automatically populated is the GitHub token. Yeah, so this actually gets automatically populated. Like, you don't need to explicitly set it for your workflow. This comes in automatically. Automatically generated. All right. Jobs. Update spreadsheet. Runs on Ubuntu latest. This is fine. Check out code. It's telling us some stuff. It thinks we're doing Python. Check out code. Check out V. Check out code. This action's already at V4. And one thing I like to do is use the actual SHA here, kind of for stability and for security. So you can actually put the actual SHA of the check-in you're using here. So let's give an example of that. Let's go ahead and find it. So it's going to be GitHub Actions Checkout. We see this at release 4.2.2. We go to 4.2.2. We click on this. And then we copy the full SHA. We go back, put the full SHA in here, and make a note that this is v4.2.2. We don't need to fetch everything, so fetch depth is 2. And then we're using Go, so we're gonna set up Go. Uses actions setup Go. We're gonna use the SHA here as well. I already have this ready. And this matches 5.2.0. With Go version file, and then we just get the version from Go mod. And now the final step is where we actually run our stuff. Name run. And go run main go. Yeah, this looks good. Okay, so this is our workflow. Now note, we have not set up the secrets yet. But let's go ahead, and while we're here, let's go ahead and just check in all our changes. So I've started creating this metrics demo on GitHub. Okay, and then we just want to check this in. Git init, all that jazz, git init. Okay, empty repo. I'm just going to use the GUI to check everything in. I don't want to check my credentials in. First commit. And let's do, we need to set our remote. Git remote add. There we go. And let's go ahead and commit and push this. Warnings, do we want to look at these? Redundant type. I think I have an idea where that is. Yeah, this is not necessary. So let's just commit anyway and push. Okay, it's still, man, it's just so many dialogues. I pressed once, I pressed twice, have to press again. Come on. All right, we checked it in. And if we run this workflow right now, maybe it's not going to work because we did not set up our secrets. So let's go ahead and set up our secrets. So secrets and variables, actions, repository secrets. So we have the spreadsheet ID. What's going on? Spreadsheet ID. Same as we did before. Spreadsheet ID. Okay, let's grab it from the spreadsheet again. It's up here. Oops, where was I? There we go. Spreadsheet ID, add secret, and then we need to add the credentials JSON, which is called, what did we call it? Google Service Account Key. Let's do that. Add secrets. So we got 2 secrets added. So now we can run this up here. Let's go ahead and run this. Run workflow. I'll pause while I wait for this. Okay, we see that it passed. We can go in and see the details. See, setup go, run. Let's look at run. Download the dependencies. It did tell us the previous data was found. And let's go into the spreadsheet and we see the latest up here. All right, so last thing is maybe we don't want this data to be in Sheets. Maybe we want it to be in Slides or a Google Doc. Many ways to display the data. I think the simplest one is just copy and paste into a Google Doc. So if you just copy this, let's see if this will work, paste, it's gonna come up with this thing, paste table. We wanna link to the spreadsheet. So it's a one-way link from Sheets to Docs or Slides. So let's do it. It's up here. Not sure why it's on the right, but you can shift it. And now if we update this again, just for example purposes, I'm just going to go ahead and manually update this to say 63, 64 is fine. This is not going to update automatically, but what you can do is go to Tools, Linked Objects, and then click Refresh up here. It will pop up this refresh button up here. Okay, refresh actually update all. Let me do this again. Tools, Linked Objects, update all. Okay, update all down here. And there we go, 64 is updated. All right, so we showed how to get GitHub issues with the API, update the spreadsheet via the API, automate all this with GitHub Actions, and finally put this data from a spreadsheet into a Docs. So basically, this is a base level of metrics tracking, right? Pretty useful if, say, you have an agenda that your team goes through in Docs. You can just have a bunch of these metrics, and you can go update all automatically, and then see all the updated values as you're going through your stand-up or another meeting. All right, hope you found this useful.